We're going to be examining how digital portfolios can enhance the way that we communicate our thinking. One way specifically is we are going to be looking at how it is not only a product, but it is also a process. So looking at that idea that it's a collection of artifacts that represents a person's thinking or the person themselves. And it's also a process in which the student is generating new or deeper learning by reflecting on what they've already learned and trying to dig deeper into whatever problem they may be examining. When thinking of it as a tool for communication, really now when we're beginning to look at mathematical thinking, we're understanding that communication is just as essential as counting, calculation, and computation. So it's really getting them to think about what the problem is, how they can understand the steps that they need to go through in order to solve the problem, and how to really analyze and evaluate the problem itself. Our focus with digital portfolios is how we can improve the way students communicate by displaying their learning journey and their thinking within the portfolio. So using digital portfolios in math will help students develop mathematical vocabulary to communicate their development and achievement and their growth throughout the year. One of the ways that we're looking at this is by having a hyperdoc that students could go into and be able to examine the instructions, what to do, how to get there, and what we're looking for, our criteria as teachers. And then being able to develop the portfolio itself within Google Presentation in Slides. Let's take a look at what that may look like. So as we move into the hyperdoc, students are given that idea where they have a goal. They understand that they're going to be creating a digital portfolio to enhance their communication skills and demonstrate what they're thinking. They are then led through the fact that we are working through the mathematical processes. So it is through these processes that we're able to communicate our thinking, and then giving some ideas of what communication looks like, what kind of spurs their mind when they think about the idea of communication, that we're organizing and consolidating our thinking. We communicate clearly in what that may look like, and really being able to analyze and evaluate and using proper language. An important thing for students to have is some success criteria that will help them understand what it means to communicate. So being able to have a few points for them to look through, maybe go back to, and then obviously having something that will guide them, which we'll look at in a minute, that's within Slides. So what we have here is them set up. So what they have is a portfolio link that the teacher has given them. So the teacher gives them a link into a folder in Google Drive where it will have their name. And within this, it has a folder for each of the processes. So in here, students will be creating slides in order to demonstrate and communicate their thinking. And we'll go into that in a minute. So let's just flip there for a minute and let me show you that. So here you see the teacher's view, and the teacher's going to see different students and their names will be within here. And if we go into one of the students' folders, we're going to see that we have the processes here. And within the processes, you're going to see that it has a slide. So the slide in here, as they open it up and go into it, will give them a few ideas of what the process is and what to expect, some things to think about, appropriate tools to use, why we might use our technology, and then it begins leading them through attached tasks. So for each one, we have an explanation of what that process may look like, and then we have tasks. So really when they're thinking and they're beginning to work through the math task, real world problems really help them to be able to connect to their own understanding of the world and be able to communicate that thinking. But when we set them up in here, it can be as complex as having each student and having each process in which they go in and develop those processes, or it could just be one slide. I could technically just have one slide in which students are coming in, and this presentation itself, they're always going back to this one portfolio. So it all depends on how you want to develop it as a teacher. It is really personal in that sense of how you want them to come at and look at it. And also it's something that you have to discuss with your students, and depending on their level of how they're going to go into it and how they're going to begin analyzing. So just think of it in both ways. It could just be one portfolio, or it could be many, depending on what you're looking, or how you're assessing and what they're really going to be developing. The one thing that they're doing here and that you do need to set up, and I'm just going to come back to this one, is that idea that they have tasks and focus inquiries. So in this HyperDoc, they have their success criteria, their goal. They know that they have their folder to go to develop within the processes. And then they have a task associated, and they'll be over the course or over the year. There'll be many tasks added to it. But when they go into this HyperDoc, they're going to see their learning goal, the curriculum expectation. Here they're led to a video, so they want to know how long it's going to take to drain a pool. So there's a video of a pool draining. And then we have here our chart in order for them to figure out how long it's taken and make some associations and some calculations. And then figuring out from here how long it takes to empty the pool. From this point, they know that they would be directed to go into a particular folder. So we see here, so let me go down here, sorry. They'd be directed to go into one of these folders, and then it is within there that they would have their task to go in and complete.